everybody for logging in and helping us get ready to launch one of our first TNT webinars. Again, Angela Wilkinson, that's my business partner. Rick.
Hi, you just get my hand today.
You can't see too much of him, you're not missing out.
You don't really want to.
At all. So, anyways, right now, we're going to spend about the next 30 minutes or so talking about how to survive the holidays, which is amongst us right now. Here we are in November, but I want to share with everybody that, I don't know if everyone's familiar with this fact, but starting with October 31st until January the 1st, this is really the holiday season, just wanted to share what the average weight gain is. And the average weight gain during that time is between 7 and 14 pounds. I want you to envision this. This here is my handy-dandy little 5 pounds of fat that travels with us everywhere when we do these kind of presentations. This is 5 pounds of fat. So if we can imagine 7 to 14 pounds over the holidays, let's just say it's an average of 10. I want you to imagine that we're stacking another one of these on top, and we're piling this on this time of year. Unfortunately, a lot of us feel like, well, it's that all or nothing mode. I'll just throw in the towel, I'm going to enjoy myself, and then I'll jump back on track come January. Unfortunately, that's a tough statistic because most of the time when this weight is gained over the holidays, even though we always have full intentions of losing it post-holiday, about 80% of individuals never achieve that goal. So this is why we're here today, and with our the kind of work that we're doing with Total Nutrition Technology, this has been a really popular topic that we've been offering to many of our corporations, for the fact that we want to help people get into that healthy mindset now as far as, well, how can I make sure I'm not a statistic? I don't want to be a statistic with this. So I'm going to give you some great tips on how to make sure you're not a statistic and you're not one of those individuals putting on some extra unwanted weight over the holidays.
Angie, before we get started, can everybody else, want to make sure everyone can hear us. We have all of you muted on purpose, but if somebody could send really quick, there's an audio box on your screen at the top. You can either dial in with a phone number and an access code to listen, or you can actually listen through your computer audio. It's either way. But how you can contact us is there's an opportunity where it says questions, or it says they can raise their hands. So where it says questions right there.
And Kelly, I see that you're on, so Kelly, I just unmuted you. Kelly, are you able to hear me okay?
Try star one.
Okay, Kelly can hear.
Okay.
Michelle can hear.
Okay,
cool.
Good. We're good to go. Okay, we just want to double check.
Thanks, Michelle and Kelly. Yes.
Yes.
Is that my Kelly?
Yeah, hello. I'm in my class,
right.
so I've got.
Thank you, Kelly. Okay. All right. Okay. Back to business. I didn't want to be stuck talking to myself the whole time, or have Rick have to listen to me. So, all right. So let's talk about a few little tips and tricks. First of all, anybody have some of these still hanging out from Halloween? Right? The little miniature candies. One little statistic I want to share. This here, just a small little handful, right? This is just 5 little candies, and they look so innocent, don't they? Just these 5, 220 calories, and of that, 23 grams of sugar, okay? Now, they look so innocent, and by all means, trust me, I'd much rather you have a miniature Kit Kat than one of the larger ones. So we'll talk about portion in just a moment. But I just want to work with everybody as far as an awareness, because sometimes it's what I call the BLTs, the bites, the licks, and the taste. Those are the little sneakies that start to creep in to our diet on a daily basis and start to make things a little bit trickier. And then before we know it, at the end of the day, we've been in a mindless manner. So we don't even realize that we've had all these little BLTs, little bites, licks, and tastes, accumulated throughout the day. This is how we're contributing back towards this extra sneaky weight gain that kind of creeps on, okay? So when we're talking about having some of these candies, I'm all for it. I'm like, you know what, enjoy your food. But this is a tip I want to share with everybody, and this is especially important over the holidays. If you're going to find yourself around more sweets than the norm, okay, because this is the time of year when the sweets come in, allow yourself some. But I want to encourage you to do that in a form of a mindful manner. Instead of just walking by, grazing, grabbing a handful, eating it as you're walking out the door, I challenge you, whether it's with candy or whether it's with your favorite holiday treats that come up during this time period, if you're going to have it, have it. But I encourage you to sit down and enjoy it. I want you to savor it. I think too often we have this sense of guilt that comes across us, and we really want it, so we grab it, but we grab it, we eat it quickly, to the point that we didn't even have a chance to enjoy it. So then we go back and we eat more. So tip number one for the holidays, trying to eliminate all of the sneaky BLTs, approach the holidays in a mindful manner. Give yourself permission to have some of these foods that might only come around once a year, okay? But make it a point to sit down and enjoy it. When is the last time, I don't have my sample of my M&Ms that I used as at one of the talks I did yesterday, a bag of M&Ms. When is the last time, or if ever, we have ever sat down and been intentional with enjoying a bag of M&Ms, but really just eating one M&M at a time? When I asked that question yesterday at the talk I did, people are like, never. You don't eat an M&M one at a time. That's unheard of. You kind of do it by the handful. Exactly. And then before you know it, you've consumed foods and you haven't even had a chance to enjoy it. It is a proven fact, if you eat in a mindful manner, you will naturally eat less. And if you eat less, that's kind of like your automatic cutoff point, which is going to move me into another trick that I want to teach people over the holidays. Throw out the willpower. All right, let's just say so I have no willpower. But can we develop skill power? And that's a tip that we teach people all throughout the year. But I want people to be extra mindful this time of year. How can I build up my skill power? How can I become more skillful so I don't have to worry about being willful? Okay, and let me give you some examples. Is it easier to walk by the grocery store or like the bakery and walk by the cakes and the sweets when you're at the grocery store, or when this is sitting in front of you at the house and no one's around and you're bored? That is an example of being skillful as opposed to willful. If you are faced with just a bunch of sweets, and you're trying to tell yourself not to eat it, that's a matter of willpower. Sometimes we just end up not having much. But can we develop some skills? Can we think of giving ourselves a sense of armor on us, whereas I'm going to be more skilled on how I go about and make these choices? So let's talk about this. Do we need to keep so many sweets in the house over the holidays? Well, maybe not. That's why, like with our company, Total Nutrition Technology, this year, we've encouraged and we appreciate everybody being so helpful. But like, take that candy, any leftovers, bring it in here. Let us help you get rid of it. Let us do a good cause, and let's send it off to our soldiers, okay? So let's get it out of the house and keep it out of the house. That's step one if we can. But what if we can't? What if we don't have full control? What if other people in the household want to still have some of these foods around? So what's another tip we could do? So another skilled tip is, again, that famous out of sight, out of mind. So if we are going to have foods around the house that we don't normally have, can we at least get it out of sight? Therefore, it's not staring at us on a regular basis, okay? So I want to encourage each of you to be thinking, how can I develop some skill power versus willpower? When it comes to getting through the holidays as well, then another very important tip is going to be planning. A favorite saying of mine is if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. And again, I think during the holidays we tend to have this mentality of just all or nothing, right? But that's when the all or nothing mode kicks in and this appears on us. So can we think of ways to be more efficient with planning? Well, I don't have this tip with me, and I thought I had all my visuals, but I had a little pack of nuts I was going to show you. Planning. I am very, very big into having everybody have a game plan A. Game plan A is I get up in the morning, I'm going to pack my snacks, my lunch, I'm set, ready to go throughout the day, all right? That's a game plan. Game plan B is, wow, I prepared all this, I had full intentions, and I left everything on the counter at the kitchen this morning. Now what? So game plan B is making sure that we have some emergency backups. You know, can you develop an emergency pack of some staples, non-perishable foods, such as some nuts, some seeds? What are some foods that we can carry with us in our car, in our purse, briefcase, so that if we start to get hungry, we have some backup. Again, that's skill power. That's being skillful. So one very important tip, continue to planning. I want people to plan all throughout the years, right? Because whether it's October, November, December, or whether it's any other time through the year, we're going to have events and circumstances coming up. But the number one thing I see when clients do come in working with us, if they feel like they've had a challenging week, usually when we get down to the bottom of it, it was lack of planning. So stay very mindful of your planning. Don't let that planning go to the wayside, because then all of a sudden we're going to get off track and we're going to start grabbing all of the goodies instead of the healthy food choices. There's another tip that I really encourage, and it's based on the hunger scale. Okay, I don't know. I see some of our clients that we currently work with have tuned in today. Others are visitors, which we appreciate having. We work a lot with the concept of the hunger scale, meaning I want you to envision a scale from 1 to 10. 1 is you are hungry, shaking, you've got the jitters, you can't think straight. And then 10 is, man, I am so full, I can't even move away from this table, okay? So we've got opposite ends of the spectrum. What we teach our clients to do and what is normal, I don't know what he's doing right now, but...
that way just see you, that's all. You have the other one.
Oh.
That's fine.
They couldn't see me before?
No, they could see you. Oh. They could see your screen, which they didn't need to.
Okay, all right. Now you're just stuck with me. So I want you to imagine 1, shaky, hungry, 10, so full I can't move. Our goal is to be about a 5, but again, we don't always end up at a 5. So I want you to think of just that good feeling of not being too hungry and not being too full. Chances are, and this happens, I would say 90% of the time, I want to see if you can relate, but if you drop down, if anybody drops down to a 1, where we're that hungry, where do you think we naturally end up at by the time we're done eating? A 10, right? So if we start at a 1, we end at a 10, this is a real common scenario during Thanksgiving, right? I mean, we have Thanksgiving meal around 4 or 5 in the afternoon. We intentionally don't eat all day because we think, well, let's just go ahead and save up all of our calories for the big feast. Unfortunately, what's happening is that's just contributing to us overeating, because now we're starting at a 1, and then we're more likely to start at a 10. So let's go back to my tip I talked about, skill power versus willpower. Skill power is, hey, I'm not going to even let myself drop to a 1. I know from previous experiences when I drop to a 1, I'm hungry. And who makes a healthy food choice when we're hungry? I mean, I've been in this field for over 25 years, and I'll be the first to say, if I'm hungry, real hungry, a lot harder to make a healthy food choice. So skill power I want everybody to think through during the holidays is stop the thinking of, well, I'm going to save up all my calories because I'm going to a big party tonight. No, 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 no. That is going to set you up to overindulge without a doubt. I want you to think, I want to make sure, I want to stay mindful. I want to plan. See how all my tips start to tie in together? I'm not going to let myself drop below a 3 on the hunger scale. And I want to challenge you to really try this. Get intuitive with your hunger. And if you can start eating at about a 3, then naturally you will stop at about a 6 or a 7. Proven fact. Okay? That's a skill power versus willpower technique. No longer are you having to then look at the food on your plate and use willpower and go, gosh, you know, I really love all this food, but I probably have had enough. I need to push it away. If you're starting your meal not real hungry, naturally your body is going to signal in and say, you know what? I'm done. And you'll naturally be at that 6 or at 7. This is going to save us over the holidays. So if we're planning ahead and we've got a Thanksgiving coming up or we've got some other big events coming up, plan ahead, continue with that routine of structured meals and snacks. Have your emergency backup. Have that kit with your non-perishable foods for the days that you need to have that as a fill-in. But don't let yourself get hungry. I practice this day in and day out. My husband and I, we could be driving onto our way to dinner, and I've got a bag of nuts, and I'm eating on my nuts, and he knows me better by now to not even ask what I'm up to, but I don't like to be hungry. So I prefer to make my food choices when I'm at about a 3, because I'm also naturally going to make a healthier food choice than if I'm at a 1. I kind of want you to really try to visualize that. We have a really good chart on that, and if you would like for me to send you the hunger scale chart so you can visually see it, please email me, Angela@tntgetfit.com. I would be happy to send that out to you, but it's actually such a great tool. I tell my clients, take a picture of this hunger scale, keep it on your phone, and really become intuitive with where am I throughout the day. And I promise you, you will start to pick up an association that as if you're making not so good food choices, check yourself. Where was I on that scale? And it probably was a 1 or a 2. And then if you are making good food choices, chances are you weren't hungry to start with. You're able to make a more sensible food choice, you're probably at that 3 or a 4. So that's a really, really good scale. Another tip I want to make sure is that I do not bypass. This is so important. And again, if you're following along, really, these are tips we should be applying every day, every week, every month. I get excited around the holidays because I want to encourage my clients, wow, you really embrace this and you learn these techniques now and you decide not to throw this to the wayside till January, you've got a head start on everybody else. And more importantly, you know, these holidays, they're going to come around every 12 months. We can't avoid them. So why not learn to conquer a few of these steps now, get some good habits under our belt? How much further along are we going to be next year? So going back to another one of my tips, I call it portion distortion. If any of you happen to indulge in this is an adult beverage. No, really, it's just water. I was just teasing. I had to do that yesterday at my talk. Okay, so this here is 5 ounces of, supposed to represent wine. It's water. I first want to ask you, how often do we pour ourselves a glass of wine and really stop about here? Typically, we, fill it to the rim, right? I mean, consciously, it doesn't even look like it's, enough until we fill it up. So I just want people to be very mindful of portions. This is considered 5 ounces is about 100 calories for 5 ounces of wine, give or take, depending on the kind. And again, it's the holidays. If you tend to indulge a little bit more in the adult beverages, again, I'm not saying not to, but I want you to be mindful of the caloric content of that. And you would have to do about 150 burpees to burn this baby off. So, nothing wrong with that. But again, we just want to make sure that we're being aware of the choices that we're making. So if you are going to have some of these, if you're at more parties than the norm or so, just try to maybe balance it out. For every glass of wine you have, maybe you also have a glass of water. If you're going to have a glass of wine, can we maybe mix it with a little bit of seltzer water? I love the liqueurs and the different flavors that they have. So just be aware that BLTs, these little extra sneaky calories, they can start to add up. Nothing wrong with having some, but we need to be accountable and we need to be aware of what we're taking in. And unfortunately, what happens over the holidays is not only are we surrounded with a lot of extra goodies, but activity tends to decrease, right? We kind of get off our routine with the exercise, the walking, because there's so many other things to do. So it's a double whammy. So I'm encouraging people to still plan ahead, not just plan your foods, plan your exercise. Put it in your good old phone. We carry these everywhere we go, right? So plan your exercise. But if you're going to fit in a couple more of these extras, just make sure that we're balancing it out. So continuing on with the portion distortion, and then I'll start to wrap it up. Again, I just want to share with people, this is a typical plate that people choose to eat off of. And typically just our conscious use, like we're not satisfied unless we have a full plate. So I want to encourage everybody to work on portions and start to eat off of smaller utensils and plates, okay? You will naturally cut back your calories in half if you just choose smaller plates. I know at our family, my husband, he's got a good appetite. He eats off this, but all the rest of us, my kids and I, we all eat off of this. This is just the norm. But it naturally helps us. We still can have a full plate of food, right? It gives us that sense of fullness, not emptiness. But we end up eating less. You also end up eating slower. That goes back to the wine. Can we have wine? But if you're at home or so, can we find smaller glasses? So again, it gives you the illusion that it's fuller. Another example when it comes to portions, looking at this bowl. This is, what some people use for their cereal bowl. It can really fill up a good amount of cereal. So I encourage people, can we look at smaller utensils? You're going to cut back half naturally. Again, skill power versus willpower. Willpower is pouring the cereals in here and going, I better just stop halfway. I've got to be careful with my portions. No. Skill power is naturally having your own go-to portioned out bowl. And yes, think I'm crazy. Some of my men in my group yesterday thought I was crazy, but this is a perfect size for a dessert. This actually is mine if I'm going to do a scoop of ice cream or anything, because it's small, so you can pack it in. But you know what? Then you're eating a lot slower as well. The average person can eat 2.5 meals in 20 minutes. 2.5 meals in 20 minutes, and that's because we're used to eating so fast. This goes back to what I shared in the beginning about if you're going to have a candy, sit down, enjoy it, savor it. You will be satisfied, but you're slowing down. Pause for a moment before we eat. Slow it down. Skill power will kick in, and you will naturally eat less. All right? So if you have portions that are portioned out and they're smaller in the bowls, you will eat slower. Therefore, your body is going to release that signal sooner and say, hey, I'm satisfied. And it's not like you're eating so quickly that you don't even get that signal, and before you know it, you've had 2.5 times the amount of food that you need. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up from here because if you get me on this topic, I could probably talk forever, but we did want to be respectful. Rick's over there agreeing with me.
I am agreeing with her.
We did want to be respectful of everybody's time today. We thought 30-minute little talks kickoff would be a great way to get started with these webinars. We are recording this, so we'll be happy to send this out to each of you as well. But some quick little tips before we sign off. Remember, mindfulness. Stay in tune. Don't just check out because it's the holidays. We don't want to be that holiday statistic. You can beat this. You can beat this. Come January, you're going to look back and you'll be like, wow, I am ahead of the game. So stay mindful. Plan ahead. If you're typically a planner, don't let those skills go to the wayside just because it's the holidays. Continue that wonderful skill. If you haven't been a planner in the past, no better time than now to start adapting that, because that's only going to be a great skill that you can carry forward with your 2017, okay? Working on that skill power versus the willpower. I am a pro working with my clients on that technique because it does work, you know? So stop and think, how can I impose some skill power as opposed to willpower? Using that hunger scale to really become intuitive with, you know, just where am I when I am making these food choices? If I'm always at a 1 or a 2 and I see that it's associated with a poor food choice, wow, what changes can I make when I start eating at a 3 or a 4, okay? And then, of course, my famous portion distortion stories of just being very careful with, you know, the sizes. I'm not saying we have to limit to just itty-bitties all the time. I'm just saying let's slow down. Let's enjoy it. In 20 minutes or so, if you feel the need that you really want more of that, give yourself permission. But I'd like to challenge you that chances are that 20 minutes will come. You would have moved on to something else. You're feeling good, and we're making a great improvement in our health. I really appreciate each of you calling in today, and we'll have some other fun, exciting webinars. We're going to have some webinars where we make it an open discussion, and I can hear back from each of you, open it up for questions. If you have additional ideas on topics that you would like to hear from us, please email us. Again, my email is angela@tntgetfit.com. And we just look forward to continuing on these webinars. So thank you, everybody, and have a great day.